Started for this second session just so that we're mindful of your time. We are doing our fourth grade curriculum night. So really quickly on the screen, you should see my Twitter handle and Ms. Treadaway's Twitter handle. We try to upload a couple of things each week to kind of give you a peek into what's happening in the classroom, some, fun things that we're doing, or if we have theme days or, just activities that the kids are enjoying, that kind of thing. So if you would like to follow us on Twitter, those are our Twitter handles. And then I just want to say before we get started, I'm going to do this first, Ms. Treadaway, and then come back to that. We are recording this session just so that we can post it on the webpage for families that could not be a part of it tonight. So it is not a secure forum. So please refrain from sharing any personal information about your child. If you have a question or anything that you want to ask us personally about your child, if you'll just shoot us an email or send us a message on Remind, we'll definitely get back to you. We just don't want anything about specific children being recorded and then it being posted on our web pages. So just want to say that before we get started tonight. And then this kind of brings us to meet your teachers. So we met most of you in person for open house, but I know that there are some friends that we have not met and some people who had multiple kids and they couldn't make it to all of the classrooms. So really quickly, we just wanted to kind of introduce ourselves and kind of give you some background. So my name is Sarah Nicely. I am your child's math teacher this year. Some of your kids have me for homeroom as well, but I'm everybody's math teacher. I am married to my high school sweetheart. He is a detective with Concord PD. We have 3 children that attend Cabarrus County schools. I have an 8th grader at Winkler, and then I have a 5th grader here and a 3rd grader here. I am a product of Cabarrus County schools. I graduated from Northwest Cabarrus, so born and raised here in Cabarrus County. And then after high school, I got my undergrad at UNC Charlotte for elementary ed. And then, God willing, I am going to graduate in May of this year with my master's in school administration. So I'm kind of pulling double duty this year. I am your child's 4th grade teacher, as well as the principal, one of the principal interns here at Weddington this year as well. So when any free moment I have, I'm up in the office doing things for some internship hours. So I should be finishing that up in May. Kind of a little bit about my teaching philosophy. I'm really big on communication. I feel like hard work and making connections are the keys to any successful year. So really building those relationships with kids, building those relationships with you guys, making sure that the expectations are set and that kids know what is expected of them, I feel like is very important. And then kind of my mantra is work hard and be nice to people. I feel like if you do those 2 things, you're pretty set. So my contact information is there. All of you guys have my email already. And then I gave you my Twitter handle a few minutes ago. So, and then Ms. Treadaway is going to talk about it, but the Remind is down at the bottom of her infographic on this page as well. And that goes to both of us.
A little bit about me. My husband is also a teacher, so we've got 2 teachers in our house. He's an 8th grade teacher at J.N. Freeze, and then our 5-year-old just started kindergarten here at Weddington, and she is loving it. We also have a 9-month-old at home, so we've got our hands full. As far as teaching, this is my 13th year teaching and my 5th year at Weddington. Before I came to Weddington, I was a classroom teacher at A.T. Allen in Cabarrus County, and then I took on a lead teacher position at Wolf Meadow and realized my heart was still in the classroom. So I had heard wonderful things about Weddington. I was very interested in the IB program. So I became a classroom teacher here 5 years ago, or this is my 5th year teaching here at Weddington. Before I started teaching, I went to college at UNC Chapel Hill, so I'm a big Tar Heels fan. The kids will hear me talk about being a Tar Heel fan. And then finally, just like Ms. Nicely said, we want you to stay connected with us this year. So you've all got our email address. We shared with you our Twitter handles, and then we use Remind to send more informal messages. And again, both of our infographics are posted to our Weddington Hills webpage. So if you ever want to refer back to these, you can find these on our web pages.
And then I actually just realized that I glanced right over. This is my 16th year of teaching. I did 10 years of first grade, and then this is my 6th year in 4th grade here at Weddington. So I just realized I didn't even say that. All right, so in the next little bit, we're going to talk about several things. We're going to talk about some curriculum information that includes our Canvas pages. We're going to talk about behavior expectations, kind of school-wide behavior expectations here at Weddington, and then touch on parent conferences and then the parent-student handbook and those scribbles forms at the end of the presentation.
Yes, so for curriculum, we wanted to remind you how to access and log into our Canvas pages because all of our curriculum that we're using here in the classroom will be listed on our Canvas pages. So we wanted to walk you through what's available on our Canvas pages, how they're set up, and we've already walked through this with the students, so most of them are familiar with it, and we wanted families to be familiar with it as well. So Miss Nicely is pulling up our Canvas course. This is my Canvas course, but hers is identical. Every teacher at Weddington has the same Canvas course. So we wanted to take some time tonight to walk through the buttons and what's available under the 4 buttons on our page. So the first button is our Week at a Glance button. So our Week at a Glance is basically what it says in the name, our Week at a Glance. We have every single week that we have been in school so far this year listed, and you'll just click the dates that you're interested in learning about. And for each subject area, we briefly identify the topic we'll be covering in class and the assignments that will be due. So you can see the first row is reading Monday through Friday. Then you have math listed out Monday through Friday, IB, and morphology. So this gives families access to every topic that we are covering here in school and every assignment that we're asking the students to do here at school so that you can stay informed of what your child's doing during the school day. It can also be a great conversation piece to get them talking, maybe some dinner table talk about what they're learning here at school. So it's available here on our Canvas course when you click the Week at a Glance button. But also when we send our weekly emails on Sunday, we always attach that to our weekly emails so that you can see for that week what we're doing. But if you ever wanted to go back and see a previous week, the Week at a Glance button has every single week that we have done so far this school year. The next button is going to be our instructional support button. And this is really your go-to button if your student is ever out of school, whether they're sick or they're quarantined. It's similar to the Week at a Glance. So you'll first click the week that you want to look at. And then it's going to be broken down by days and by subject area. So I'll let Miss Nicely's pulling this up now. It takes a while to load when we're on Teams. It slows it down a little bit. So you can see Monday, reading, math, and IB. And for each subject, we've got the topic we're covering that day. We've got a PowerPoint or a PDF listing, it shows the slides that we're using here in school. So if your child is out of school, they can go through the slides just like we're doing in the classroom. And then for each day and each subject area, it gives the independent practice or the independent work that the children are doing here at school. And as you can see, while she's scrolling through that, there are active links on this page. So if we ever wanted your child to take a Mastery Connect quiz, we have put the active link right there. They'll just click here and then it gives the Mastery Connect codes. So they have everything they need if they're ever out of school and they need to stay up to date with what we're doing here at school. So this is your go-to button for keeping up with what we're doing in class when you're not at school. And then our third button is a Microsoft Teams button. And so this button is going to be used if we ever have to have a remote learning day. And so when students click this button, we have each created Microsoft Teams for our class. And so they'll just click this button and join our Microsoft Teams meeting. And that's where we would be doing live teaching. They got really familiar with this last year when we started off the school year remote and then went to our hybrid learning. And then we've also practiced using Microsoft Teams again with them this year. So they're all very familiar with it. And again, we would let you know if we were ever having to use Microsoft Teams, if we were teaching remotely. But this is how they would get to our Teams meeting. They would go to Canvas and then click the button for Microsoft Teams. And then the last button is for special areas. This is another button that your child would want to use if they're ever out of school or having to quarantine. When they click that, it's going to take them to a special area landing page. And each of our special area teachers have their own Canvas page, and there's a button listed right here on this landing page. So if they clicked one of the specials like art, it would take them to the Canvas page for that special area teacher. And each special area teacher has activities planned for the students. So again, if your child is out of school, they can go here to participate in our special area courses along with their typical reading, math, and IB lessons. So Ms. Brashear has hers laid out by grade level. So they would click her course and then click 4th grade, and she will have activities for them to complete if they ever had to quarantine or be out of school for any other reason. So lots of resources on Canvas for your child to use to access the curriculum if they ever have to be out of school.
Yeah. Since I have so many tabs open now. And so
really,
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say really simple this year. Everybody's page looks just the same. And we've walked them through those 4 buttons that they will use.
Perfect. Oh gosh, come on.
And then we also wanted to let you know that you are able to become a parent observer in Canvas, so that you can see if we ever did a discussion board or submitted any work on Canvas, you would have access to your child's work. But also if you wanted to be able to have access to those buttons without going through their login, what I'm going to do is there's a little 6-minute video on how to become a parent observer in Canvas. Instead of showing that to you through Microsoft Teams tonight, 1, it sometimes lags when we're on Microsoft Teams, but 2, to be respectful of your time, I'm just going to put the link to that video in the chat for you. A parent in our previous session said that you need a code, an access code, to be able to join your student's course. So we are going to get in touch with our technology facilitator, and we will let you know in the next few days what that code is, but just know that these directions walk you through how to become a parent observer. Let me get this link and then I'll talk about expectations. All right, so as far as reading expectations this year, I kind of wanted to walk you through a day of lessons in my reading class. The first thing we do is we start with our whole group lesson. So we've talked to the students about sitting in a learning position, being ready to learn. They are jotting down notes during this time. They are sharing ideas with their classmates. We do a lot of turn and talk where they're sharing their thinking. And during this whole group lesson, I am teaching a strategy based on our standards for how to become a better reader. So they're listening to this strategy during the whole group lesson. And then after the whole group lesson, we kind of break off into independent work and small group work. So I have students meeting with me at least 1 time a week in a small group. Some groups meet with me more frequently based on their needs, but your child will be pulled in at least 1 small reading group per week. And then while I'm doing the reading group, the rest of the students are working on weekly reading assignments. So I wanted to walk you through really briefly what we're expecting them to do each week in reading. So the first thing is ReadWorks. ReadWorks is a website that has passages for your child, and then it has comprehension questions and vocabulary activities. So each week we assign the students 2 ReadWorks passages, and we give them time in class. That's their independent work while I'm pulling groups to complete those passages. And we found that that really helps with their reading stamina. It helps with their comprehension because they're having to answer those comprehension questions. And then we also use this as a tool for teaching them test taking strategies because the questions on ReadWorks are multiple choice. So we talk to them about finding keywords in the passages, going back to find text evidence, eliminating bad answer choices. So we use that as a teaching tool. So each week they've got 2 ReadWorks passages. They also have an assigned iReady lesson. So based on what we're teaching, we also assign them a lesson to just boost their understanding of whatever our topic is that week. For example, the first week of lessons, we talked about determining the main idea. So we went into iReady and assigned every student a lesson about determining the main idea. So they listened to the iReady program, teach them one more time how to determine the main idea, and then it gives them a little quiz at the end. So I use this as a data point to see, okay, who's got main idea, who needs a reteach, and then I pulled strategy groups based on that data. So not only is iReady reteaching students, but it also gives me another data point to look at when I'm trying to see who needs reteach or who might need enrichment. And then every Friday in reading, they complete a Mastery Connect quiz. And again, this is another way for us to collect data on their understanding of our reading topics. So I'll get that data each week, and then the next week I'll pull groups based on their data if there's something that they need to reteach on. And then there's also independent reading. So we talk a lot about reading stamina, building that reading stamina, being able to stay focused on the book for longer periods of time. And again, this work, the two read works, the assigned iReady lesson and the Mastery Connect are due Friday, and they have plenty of time during class to work on these assignments. And again, they're working on them while I'm pulling small groups. And then iReady, I encourage the students to get at least 60 minutes per week of iReady. iReady is a wonderful program because it meets the students where they're at. So if there are gaps in their reading, it helps fill in those gaps. But if there are students who are ready for content that is above a fourth grade level, it gives them access to lessons to keep them engaged and to keep them challenged. So again, iReady meets them where they are. So we really encourage them to spend that time on iReady so that they are getting the exact instruction that they need.
And as far as math expectations, it's very similar to reading expectations. The format is very similar in the fact that there is a mini lesson, or your kids would probably argue that the lesson in math is not mini because it's usually longer than 20 minutes. But then there's also independent practice and small group work. So the expectations are the same as reading. We expect them to have their materials ready. They have a math notebook. They need to have a sharpened pencil. And then in addition to that, all students were given a small whiteboard that they keep inside their desk and an expo marker. A lot of times that'll be used during small group work, or I encourage them to use the expo and whiteboard when they are doing their independent practice on their own and working things out. Just because it, first of all, saves paper, and second of all, kids tend to want to write on that. So if that gets them working out their problems, then I encourage that for sure. During the lesson, students are to take notes in their math notebook. They're to work out problems, go through the guided practice with me as we do the lesson. My kind of rule of thumb, and I say this to them, if I write it, you write it. So if I'm writing it on the board and if I am working it out and I'm showing you the steps, then that's what needs to be happening in your notebook also, just so that they have that to go back and look at, because they can use their notes in their notebook when they do their independent practice after the lesson. So that kind of takes me to after the lesson. They all have some kind of assignment. So sometimes it's a Mastery Connect assignment. Sometimes it's additional problems at the end of the notebook file. Sometimes it's a worksheet, but they all have something that they do after the guided practice to practice whatever I taught that day and kind of give themselves an idea of, do I know this? Am I following her steps? Those kinds of things. While they're working on independent practice, I will pull small groups. We practice, work out problems, work on strategies, that kind of thing. And it's the same as reading. They will have at least one math group per week as well. And then kind of at the end of the lesson every day, the end of the math time every day, we button everything up and wrap it all up by going over some of the independent work. And that way they get a chance to check their work. They can see what went wrong or did they get it correct and that kind of thing. And it's a self-check for them as we go over independent practice at the end of math time. Similar to iReady Reading, they also have the iReady Math program, which is equally as great. It meets them where they are, like Ms. Treadaway stated. It also pushes them, so if they are ready to move on, it is an acceleration tool as well. And 60 minutes of iReady Math is also what we expect. Kind of like what she was saying, they have time. We have an hour and a half for math each day. So between, the 30 minutes of a lesson, they usually have an additional hour to complete their independent practice and get some of those iReady minutes in. So far, I have not had much trouble with students not getting in their minutes of iReady each week. And then that's something that they can do at home as well. And then we've talked about reading, we've talked about math, and then of course at Weddington Hills we are an IB school, which stands for International Baccalaureate. We are the primary years program at the elementary level. This is a little Bitmoji classroom that Mrs. Hooks put together to show all the parents. She's our IB coordinator. So there's some links on here. If you kind of click on her computer, it takes you to her webpage on the Weddington Hills site. So you can get that through just the Weddington Hills homepage, and it talks all about the primary years program and kind of what we do here at Weddington Hills specifically. This picture right here is actually in our main hallway that runs down the middle of the school, and it's got all of the IB units. So that encompasses all of our science and social studies standards. So what we do is we take all of the science and social studies standards for each grade level, and we look at what fits together, and then we have made units that go with that. So we have 6 different IB units that we will go through as the year goes on. And then by the end of school, we've gone through all of the science and social studies standards, and we've just kind of molded them to fit into our IB curriculum. So currently we're working on Who We Are. That goes with health, nutrition. We're talking about the 5 food groups. We're talking about healthy fats. We're going to talk about physical fitness and things like that. And then that's kind of our science standards. And then also in Who We Are, we do some social studies standards and talk about our rights and responsibilities as citizens, because that also falls under who we are as citizens of not only the United States, but North Carolina, because the 4th grade social studies curriculum does revolve around North Carolina. So we take some science and some social studies and kind of fit together what makes sense and put these IB units together. So when you hear your kid talk about IB time, that is our science and social studies time that we have each day.
All right, we wanted to take some time tonight to talk about our technology expectations. Your child has been assigned a laptop, and each one of them has a Chromebook and a charger that has been assigned to their name. So we've talked to them in class about how to be respectful, responsible, and safe with their technology. Since it does not belong to them, they are borrowing it. So I'm not going to read through each of the points, but if your child ever does bring their Chromebook home like they did tonight, make sure you're reminding them to be respectful, responsible, and safe with that technology. This is language that we use here at school, so hearing it at home, being respectful, responsible, and safe will just keep that consistency, and they're familiar with that language and they know our expectations for technology here at Weddington. We also wanted to take some time tonight to talk to you about our school-wide expectations, and we refer to it as the Wildcat Way. So we have this matrix posted throughout our school, and the first week of school, we really took time to break down each part of this matrix and talk about how to be respectful, responsible, safe, and kind. Prior to this year, our 3 overarching expectations were being respectful, responsible, and safe, and this year we added that last row about being kind. So we talked about how we can behave these ways in the restroom, the cafeteria, the hallway, the playground, assemblies we're not having right now, and then on the bus. So your child is very familiar with this. Again, we broke it down the first week of school and really talked about what we expect out of them so that they know what's expected here at school. And then we also made a matrix for our own classrooms. So we had those 4 overarching themes: respectful, responsible, safe, and kind. And the students helped us create a matrix for our classroom. So they listed out the bullet points for in our classroom, how are we going to be respectful? How are we going to be responsible, safe, and kind to get that buy-in and make them feel a part of the process. So again, these are expectations for school, and they know exactly what's expected and how to behave in a respectful, responsible, safe, and kind way, because we talked to them about that the first week of school. And then, of course, when we have breaks like winter break or spring break, we're always going to come back and revisit these. And then we have them posted throughout the school. If they ever need an impromptu reteach in the hallway or the cafeteria, we can refer to the matrix, and they're very familiar with that language that we use here at Weddington.
Yes, and I want to add that I think I can speak for both of our classes. These kids are phenomenal at this. They, I mean, I brag on my kids all the time about how, they know how to walk in the hallway. They are doing these things that, there are always some years that you have to teach this a little more than others. And I feel like these kids, especially this year, really do a great job with following the Wildcat way. That kind of brings us to our universal behavior system. So we've talked about our school-wide goals and our school-wide expectations, and Live School is our school-wide behavior system. It's an electronic system that we use to reinforce positive behavior. Your child may have talked about Live School at home. They may have talked about, maybe not called it Live School, but talked about earning points each day and things like that. So Live School basically reinforces that positive behavior in the way that we can give points to students that are doing the things that are on this matrix. So when we have, students that have their materials ready and they're being responsible, or we have students that are walking quietly in the hallway, or we have students that are being respectful of others when they're speaking in class, we give those Live School points out. And then when they earn however many each month, we have Whiskers Warehouse that comes. It actually came last week to our classrooms in September. I don't know that it will always be on a cart where it comes around to us. We may be visiting Whiskers Warehouse as Ms. Dickerson gets more things added to Whiskers Warehouse, but the students are exchanging their points for tickets, and then their tickets buy whatever prizes they want from Whiskers Warehouse. So they were really excited about it coming last week. I know some students did decide that they wanted to just bank their points, and so that they had a whole lot to use the second time around. And the prizes are different every month, so they'll get to spend them on different things. They're able to check on their points. It says Friday during morning meetings, but I know a lot of my kids check it in the afternoons. It's on the school webpage on their Clever account, so they know how to get to it to check. So if you ever want to ask them how many Live School points they have, you can have them pull that up for you and check. The points also tell what they're for as well. So if they got one because they were walking quietly, then the point says walking quietly. If it's for, having materials ready, it will say being prepared for class, or, whatever it is. So it kind of gives you an idea of what they're earning the points for as well. And then on the flip side of that, I just want to reiterate that this is for positive behavior. So there's no demerits. Once they've earned the points, they keep them. We don't take those points away, if they do something they're not supposed to do later in the day or anything like that. And so if we have an issue, if we have something that we feel like needs to be addressed more than just us, speaking with them in the classroom, we will directly speak with you about that via email or a phone call, or talk to you about that one-on-one. So that's not going to be something that you see in Live School. If you do check their points, there's no, red points or demerits or anything like that. This is just for promoting positive behavior and really driving home, this Wildcat Way matrix and making those good, responsible choices.
And then we also wanted to just put a plug in your ear about parent conferences. We will be holding parent conferences with each student's family during the month of October. You're going to have two options. If you are more comfortable with a virtual option, we will be offering that, where we will meet via Teams, just like we're using tonight. And we're happy to have a virtual conference if that's what you're more comfortable with, but we're also offering an in-person conference. So if you'd rather come into the building and talk to us in person, we're also setting those up. So look out for information. It's going to be coming soon, but we're going to give you some time slots and you can pick what works best for you. And again, you'll just let us know whether you prefer a virtual or an in-person option. And we will have time during that conference to talk about your child individually, about strengths, about weaknesses, some observations we've had here at school. But it'll really be time for us to sit down and talk about what we've seen so far this school year.
Yeah, including beginning of the year benchmarks.
Yes.
And what we've seen on those as well. And then the very last thing is we just want to remind you that if you have not gone onto the Weddington Hills homepage, it's also on the Cabarrus County Schools homepage, and gone to the Scribbles account and filled out those beginning of the year forms. They are really wanting us to make sure that we stress the importance of that. If you aren't sure if you filled it out, you can go in and just check. It'll let you know if you have some outstanding things that you need to take care of. The most important thing definitely being the health information form that being electronic goes straight to our nurse, so she has all the information she needs about your child. It also has the student code of conduct and our technology use policies as well. We really want all students to have filled out that technology use policy along with parents before we start sending home Chromebooks regularly. So we haven't done that yet, but it could be coming in the future. So we just want to make sure that that technology use is signed by all the students and parents so that everyone's on the same page and you guys know kind of what the expectations are for having technology at home. So if you will check that out and just make sure those things are completed. And I will also say that if you're not sure and you can't find it and you can't get on, if you will shoot us an email, we have access to the spreadsheet where they've kind of kept up with who's filled out what and things like that. So we can let you know if you have some things that you need to take care of also. And that is wrapping it up. So I'm going to unshare my screen. And if anyone has any questions or anything, that you want to ask, and if you can't think of anything now and you want to email us later, then you can do that for sure. All right. Well, I hope you guys have a great evening and thanks for joining us tonight. And if you think of anything afterwards, definitely, you can via remind or email. Either way, just let us know and we'll get right back to you.
Bye.
Bye, Henry.
Henry.
Bye. Bye, Miss Treadaway and Miss Nicely.
Bye, Christiana.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for coming.
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.